This is wrestling's greatest moments.
Hey now, wrestling fans. It's time for another episode of Wrestling's Greatest Moments. Welcome to our recurring feature, Superstar Showcase, where we take a look at wrestling legends from a particular promotion or a type of wrestler, such as a technician. Sit back as Wrestling's Greatest Moments looks at Georgia Championship Wrestling All-Stars 1977 to 1981. Before we get started, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell. Criteria. This time around, we're looking at 7 wrestlers who worked in Georgia Championship Wrestling from 1977 to 1981. We're focusing on singles careers, and due to time constraints, we can't include everyone, although we'll keep the tape machines running and revisit the topic down the road. Georgia Championship Wrestling, GCW, like many territories, featured some great wrestlers. The promotion featured a core of solid talent, several we'll get to in a bit, but it also featured a steady influx of special appearances. As kayfabe memories Gary Lynch writes, during 1978, many superstars from all over the United States made appearances in Georgia. This included superstar Billy Graham from the WWF, Ric Flair from Mid-Atlantic, Bobo Brazil from Detroit, Rocky Johnson, Bobby Duncum, and later on in the year, the Briscoes and the Funks. There would be frequent crossovers between Jim Crockett Promotions, JCP, and GCW, particularly when GCW dropped its version of the NWA World Tag Team Championship. The Jim Crockett Promotions version would be defended in both promotions, leading to fans of each territory getting to see their local heroes or villains vying for the title. GCW appealed to wrestlers due to the pay and the relative ease of travel. In his memoir, Inside Out, Ole Anderson describes what Stan Hansen told him about working in GCW. Stan Hansen once told me, "This is the first time in my life that I ever made $100,000. I've been to New York and a lot of different territories, but to make $100,000 in that little territory in Georgia, where the trips are short and you're home every night, that's pretty good." And it was. You had no expenses. That was $100,000 in your pocket. Not everyone had the same glowing memories of working with Ole Anderson, a subject for another video, but there were reasons the area boasted appearances by wrestling's elite. What made GCW truly stand out was that it aired on Ted Turner's Superstation TBS, which meant that fans outside the territory's geographic area could see its wrestlers, giving them bigger exposure. At the same time, cable television was still a budding flower, compared to today's proliferation of channels and streaming services. In The Death of the Territories, historian Tim Hornbaker explains why Turner's TBS was so important to GCW. WTBS out of Atlanta was a prime station in the budding cable universe and featured a strong combination of popular old sitcoms, family programming, and Braves Major League Baseball action. But its most-watched program was the exceptional Georgia Championship Wrestling broadcast on Saturday nights, and viewers from Florida to Alaska were entertained by the lively matches every week. This national exposure would later create the opportunity for GCW to promote shows outside its traditional territory, a sign of how cable television would forever change the wrestling industry. Ole Anderson. Ole Anderson was a key figure in GCW, both on camera and off. Anderson booked GCW at different points during his time there. In his memoir, The Last Outlaw, Stan Hansen, who worked in GCW and wrestled with and against Ole, praised the territory and the booking. The territory was on fire at the time. Jim Barnett owned the territory, but Gene and Ole Anderson were the bookers. Gene and Ole worked as a team, both in the ring and in the office. But it was Ole who was the brains and did most of the booking work in the office. Ole put together the matches, mapped out the TV shows, and promoted the talent. He was a smart guy. While Ole would hold 2 singles titles in GCW, he shined as a tag team competitor. Like the wrestlers covered in our video, Tag Team Wrestling All-Stars, Ole could work well with any tag team partner. While he will forever be known for his role in the Minnesota Wrecking Crew, originally comprised of Gene, Ole, and Lars Anderson, and later Arn Anderson, Ole had successful runs with Ivan Koloff, Stan Hansen, and others. In a surprise move, Ole turned babyface after a falling out with Koloff, leading to a team with Tommy Rich and other babyfaces. However, the biggest shock came when Anderson's former arch-rival Dusty Rhodes, who had once vowed that it would never be over between them, asked to team with Ole against the Assassins in a steel cage match. Ole's brother Gene and heel wrestler Ivan Koloff served as special referee, essentially balancing out the babyface heel equation. However, the real shock was when Dusty realized he'd been set up, that Ole had lured him into a trap that he'd started a year before. Ole revealed his true colors, or in Ole's words, leopard never changes its spots, attacking Dusty as everyone in the cage pummeled the American Dream while babyfaces helplessly attempted to get into the cage. This launched a white-hot Ole vs. Dusty feud, a feud we'll be covering in the near future. Ivan Koloff. French-Canadian turned sinister Soviet Ivan Koloff was wrestling's go-to foreign menace. The former WWF champion was in so much demand that even when promoters blackballed him after his participation in the so-called outlaw promotion International Wrestling Association in 1975, he was working a regular schedule by 1977. The Russian Bear was a brutal heel who thrived in GCW, beating down hapless jobbers and promoting the superiority of the Soviet Union, which compelled fans to buy tickets to see marquee babyfaces try to beat a lesson into the Russian Bear. However, wrestlers found there was no taming this bear, and often, the only thing Uncle Ivan's opponents could hope for was to survive their matches against him. Ivan teamed with Ole Anderson, winning the NWA Georgia Tag Team Championship from Stan Hansen and Tommy Rich. However, when Koloff and Anderson dropped the belts to the Crusher and Tommy Rich, Koloff later turned on Anderson. Ivan teamed with fellow Russian Alexis Smirnov, forming a powerful team that would win the Georgia Tag Team titles. Koloff and Smirnov proved tough competitors, keeping the belts despite tough challenges from the Briscoe brothers, Jack and Jerry, Kevin Sullivan and Tony Atlas, and Tommy Rich and Wahoo McDaniel. Meanwhile, Ivan continued his war against Ole Anderson, wrestling Ole in heated stipulation matches including dogfights and steel cage matches. Mr. Wrestling 2. One of wrestling's greatest second acts, wrestler Johnny Walker was semi-retired when Booker Jerry Jarrett, who had taken over for GCW Booker Bill Watts, asked him to don a mask and work in GCW as Mr. Wrestling 2. According to Kayfabe Memories' Rich Tate, Walker entered GCW because the original Mr. Wrestling, Tim Woods, was competing in Eddie Graham's Championship Wrestling from Florida, which kept him from working as much as GCW officials wanted. Mr. Wrestling 2 was essentially introduced to Georgia fans as a partner of Woods, and began taking the territory by storm right away. That popularity led him to the top in Georgia, where he would remain for the next 12 years, rarely leaving the territory. Incredibly, the former sumo wrestler surpassed the popularity of the first Mr. Wrestling. Manager Gary Hart would write in his memoir, Playboy Gary Hart, Mr. Wrestling 2 was truly a legendary figure of Southern wrestling, much like Bruno Sammartino in New York, Fritz Von Erich in Dallas, and Dusty Rhodes in Florida. And he was far better and much more over than the first Mr. Wrestling Tim Woods ever dreamed of being. 2, as he was nicknamed, wowed fans with his $1 million knee lift, including U.S. President Jimmy Carter's mother Lillian, who became his best-known fan. 2 even visited the president at the White House and posed for an iconic photo where President Carter placed him in a headlock. Championships came easy for Mr. Wrestling 2. According to Kayfabe Memories' Rick Fields, 2 was a 10-time Georgia heavyweight champion, defeating Sputnik Monroe, Bill Watts, Ron Fuller, Buddy Colt, Nikolai Volkov, Dick Slater, Stan Hansen, Angela Mosca, and the Superstar. Mr. Wrestling 2 would work many memorable programs, including a heated rivalry with a masked superstar. The Superstar was 2's polar opposite, and they had lengthy battles over the NWA Georgia Heavyweight Championship. Mr. Wrestling 2 was so popular that Bill Watts brought him to Mid-South Wrestling in 1979 to jumpstart his fledgling promotion. 2 proved just as successful in Mid-South, but still found time to work major shows in GCW, proving as popular as ever. Tony Atlas. Tony Atlas joined GCW after a run in Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, aka Jim Crockett Promotions. Interestingly, Tony donned a mask for his early run in GCW, competing as Black Atlas. According to Tony, he went to Atlanta to get some seasoning. As for the mask, Ole knew that George Scott's long-range plan was to bring me back to Charlotte to work on top, so he put me under a mask and called me the Black Atlas. He knew I was still learning to work, so he decided to hide my identity in case I did something stupid that might hurt my reputation. As Atlas tells it in his biography, Too Much, Too Soon, GCW was the best thing that could have happened to him. He learned much under Ole Anderson, and credits Ole with him adopting the press slam. Was set to work a match against Ole and Gene Anderson when... Before the match, Ole told me, "Tonight, I want to try something. I want you to slam me, but I want you to press me high over your head and drop me from there." Sometime during the match, Ole called for the slam. I picked Ole up, pressed him overhead, and sent him crashing to the mat. The people popped and came out of their seats. Seeing the reaction we got from the crowd, Ole signaled for Gene to run in. Gene said, "Slam me." I did. Ole stood up and said, "Slam me again, kid." Afterward, Ole told Atlas to use the move in every match, helping him get over even more. Tommy Rich. Some may say something about Wildfire? Tommy Rich was an ideal babyface for Southern promotions, and he fit into GCW perfectly. Rich honed his skills in Memphis before moving to GCW. Ole Anderson took his time introducing fans to the newcomer, giving the audience time to respect Rich's toughness and heart. In his memoir Inside Out, Anderson recalls, "When I first brought Tommy into Georgia, I had Abdullah the Butcher beat him in 30 seconds, less than a minute. As Abdullah left the ring, the referee came over to help Tommy up. Tommy told him that he didn't want any help. He brushed the referee away. 'Just leave me alone. I can make it on my own.' Of course, the people were standing up, watching the drama unfold. I was listening to the people and gauging their reaction. When Tommy stood up, the people cheered and applauded. Ole repeated the formula, with Rich getting a little more offense in, and while his initial fairings against Abdullah all yielded the same results, defeat, his tenacity impressed the fans. Tommy quickly became a favorite, teaming with Mr. USA Tony Atlas to win the NWA Georgia Tag Team Championship. Tommy's early years in GCW saw him win Tag Team Gold with Thunderbolt Patterson and later Rick Martel, as he continued to win the fans over. A brief run with the NWA Macon Heavyweight Championship was Rich's first singles belt in the area. From there, he continued winning title after title in the tag division, including championship runs with Wahoo McDaniel, Stan Hansen, and Crusher Lazowski of Crusher and the Bruiser fame. By 1980, Wildfire was a solid singles star, challenging for the area's top singles titles along with world titles. On January 28, 1980, Rich battled WWF champion Bob Backlund for the title, taking Backlund to a 60-minute time limit draw. Rich also began chasing NWA World Heavyweight Champion Harley Race, with Race eluding Rich until the following year. Tommy Rich's popularity around this time cannot be overstated, as Steven Johnson and Greg Oliver write in the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, Heroes and Icons, their detailed look at wrestling's greatest babyfaces. There was a time, thanks to the reach of Georgia Championship Wrestling on WTBS, that perhaps Rich was the most famous wrestler on the planet. This is no wrestling hyperbole, as Rich was a key player on GCW's flagship show, Georgia Championship Wrestling, renamed World Championship Wrestling in 1982. The Masked Superstar. Bill Eadie's transformation from Bolo Mongol to Masked Teal, the Masked Superstar, began in Jim Crockett Promotions in 1976. But Eadie proved so good at playing a technical heel that he was brought into GCW. The Masked Superstar defeated fellow masked wrestler Mr. Wrestling 2 in a no disqualification, no time limit match on December 4th, 1978, winning the NWA Georgia Heavyweight Championship. Mr. Wrestling 2 chased the Masked Superstar for months, battling him in stipulation matches including lumberjack matches and steel cage matches. Mr. Wrestling 1 and Bob Armstrong also vied for the title, but Wahoo McDaniel would be the man to beat Superstar for the belt, capturing the championship on May 14, 1979. Over the next few months, the two traded the titles, with Superstar moving on to tag team competition, teaming with Austin Idol. The two defeated the Briscoe brothers, Jack and Jerry, in a tournament final on November 22nd, 1979, winning the NWA Georgia Tag Team Championship, but dropping it 8 days later to the Briscoes. Not only was the masked Superstar a talented technician, he also had a cunning mind he put to use against his rivals. A classic example occurred in 1979 when the Superstar's nemesis, Mr. Wrestling 2, was working in Mid-South, and a new Mr. Wrestling 2 showed up, puzzling the fans. Eventually, the original Mr. Wrestling 2 returned, defeating the imposter and unmasking him as wrestler Joe Powell. Powell confessed that the masked Superstar had put him up to it, leading the Superstar pummeling Powell. Powell got his chance for revenge when he refereed a match between the Superstar and Wrestling 2. The masked Superstar would go on to hold the Georgia Heavyweight Championship 4 times. The title was eventually unified with the area's National Heavyweight Championship, with the Superstar then trading the title with Tommy Rich. Abdullah the Butcher. Abdullah the Butcher served as a catalyst for many iconic programs in GCW. As mentioned, his series with Tommy Rich was initially one-sided, with a madman from the Sudan brutalizing and dominating Rich. Nonetheless, Rich's tenacity contrasted well, helping to build him up as Abdullah fought Rich every week, with Tommy refusing to give up. It was a slow process that wouldn't have been as successful against anyone else but Abdullah. The Butcher was a go-to monster, and his fondness for carving up opponents like a Thanksgiving turkey made him one of the most hated men in wrestling, making him a top draw for promoters. The Butcher was so hated that a promoter could turn any heel wrestler babyface by putting him into a program against Abdullah. Such was the case when Abdullah's manager Rock Hunter hinted to Stan Hansen that his client wanted a title match against Stan, who was a heel at the time. When Hansen attacked Abdullah's manager Rock Hunter, Abdullah took Hansen out, instantly turning Stan the Man into a babyface. Anyone familiar with the Butcher's work can attest to why he worked so well as a monster. Abby knew how to terrify the fans, in the ring when he bloodied babyfaces, and out of the ring when he engaged in jaw-dropping feats. As noted in the book, The Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, The Heels, GCW referee Bobby Simmons recalls the impact Abdullah made during his debut. First week here, he ate raw fish on TV, and then he ate a light bulb. He reached up, unscrewed a light bulb out of the socket, and ate it. I mean, I couldn't believe this. The people were afraid of him. Heck, I was afraid of him. A top draw, Abdullah's wrestling services were highly sought after. Although his commitments working in Japan kept him away for months, fellow wrestler Tony Atlas describes how the Butcher's absences in Georgia worked to his advantage. As a rule, Abdullah would spend 6 months in Japan and 6 months in the States. When he went to a new territory, it only took 2 or 3 weeks of advertisement and promotion to get him over, while it took months for other wrestlers to get over with the people. This worked well because Abby's act had a shorter shelf life than others. As Atlas describes it, guys like Johnny Valentine took 6 months to get over, but he could make money for a promoter for several years, while Abdullah and the others drew well for about a year before their lights began to dim. Although the Butcher didn't hold many titles in GCW, he held its heavyweight championship, TV championship, and Macon championship only once. He didn't need titles. Do you remember these Georgia Championship Wrestling All-Stars? Who are your favorites? Don't worry if we miss some of your favorites because we'll have another video down the road. Share your thoughts in the comment section and let us know if there are any videos you'd like Wrestling's Greatest Moments to cover. In the meantime, hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, follow us on X and Instagram, and spread the good news about Wrestling's Greatest Moments, the channel that celebrates the squared circle.